have that down, because what happens is that now Jeremy is getting all this backlash, all of this hate mail, all of this whatever, and he's having to defend himself. Me personally, I'd tell everybody, if you want to sit there and talk smack, go F yourself, because I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Well, and it's the worst position to be in, and like Brian said, how do you make that call? I mean, if Brian's under the assumption he made the right call, then I'm not going to argue with it, and I'm not arguing with Jeremy. I wouldn't want to be that guy to have to make that call.
I would hate to make that call, but to sit there and be bashed,
sure.
But
it's just, like you said, though, the getting sent to the back of the pack,
that's the biggest thing I had the issue with.
I know you guys have probably had, especially Corey, I've had a lot of people asking messages and that. You can't imagine how many I've had. And I just flat don't know the answer to it. But I think we're going to get to the bottom of it this week. We're going to, I think, visit about it. I'm sure in the pit meeting before, and come up to the conclusion of what. We just got to stick to it every week. You can't be. Nobody's accusing anybody of showing favoritism, or I think it's just flat human error, getting caught up at the moment. And
that's what we said. Yeah.
And then, you have 3 minutes to think about what you're doing, and then you
if
have
that
green flag again, because everybody wants to go home.
Yeah, so if that. Yeah. Well, see, and then
we have 6 days of the week to scrutinize his decision. That's not fair.
Right.
And it's not. And the thing is that, and you're absolutely right. You talk about people at the heat of the moment. They make decisions. Is it always the right decision? Sometimes for some people it is.
Again, that's your point of perspective, your point of view, your perspective. Was it right? You're going to ask some people. Brian says, yeah, okay, it was made. You're going to get other people that disagree with that. That's the whole deal here. I mean, my whole issue, okay, whatever the call is the call. I don't have any say in that. I don't want any say in that. The only thing that I was truly confused about was, and I'll tell you, I've been at that racetrack for 40 years, and I don't remember ever hearing what the rule that you spoke of, Brian, about a guy goes to the back and then the next caution he goes back to where. I've never heard that, and I can tell you right now in 40 years of racing, I don't think I've ever seen that at Willamette Speedway. That was the thing that I was confused the most about, was why were you not sent back to the third place position when there was only 3 cars into that?
When he said that, I mean, it kind of made sense. I was like, I can understand that. Yeah, if you cause a caution, you go to the back, another caution comes out, you get your spot, you move up to the lead deal, and then I think, wow, whatever week we talk about inside of 10 laps to go, the lap cars go back.
Right.
So that's where, we just don't need to build the drama in it anymore. We just need to.
We need to determine what the clarification is.
Put it in stone, and this is what it is.
Exactly.
So that way we know every week.
Exactly.
I was driving around the track. I didn't even. If I would have thought of it, to be quite honest with you, I would have went up behind Winkler and just shoved my way in there, and that's where I'm starting. And Jeremy probably would have let me. He didn't tell me to go to the back. I went to the back because I was so confused and pissed at the situation that I didn't have my head on straight. I was just like, well, I just caused a wreck. I got to go to the back. That's what I'm used to doing. I didn't realize that I'd lapped that. I had no idea what spot Winkler was in when I lapped him. All I knew was I was hauling butt and passing cars.
Yeah.
I wasn't worrying about anything.
Right.
And I didn't even know what lap it was until that caution came out and I looked up. I'm like, oh, geez, we don't got many left.
Right.
But if I would have, knowing what was going on a little bit better, I would have went up there and tried to start behind Winkler, and I think I still could have pulled the race off.
Well, I don't think at that point I'd argue that, because your car was, just absolutely fast. Now, I think you might have had a little hard time getting by both those guys, but were you capable of winning it? Absolutely. As fast as Dibble and Winkler were that night, who knows? As fast as you were, you might have blown by them. I don't know. I know you had the fastest lap in the feature at 16.426, 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else.
Yeah, the second race, we made a couple of good adjustments after the first race. And car was just stupid in the second race. I don't know how far we were ahead. I think it was over almost 3/4 of a lap ahead.
It was a car length. It was a car length or so.
It was, that car was absolutely the best I've ever seen it. What's next for your crew, the 44T car? I know you're in the battle. You're like 40 points out of the title now. What's next for your team?
Just 1 week at a time. I don't know. It would be really, really cool to win the championship, but Corey, we've talked about this in the past. It's not the end of the world for Brian Thompson. I don't have really anything to prove. I just like going out and having fun, and the racing for me is almost secondary. I enjoy going out and hanging out with the guys and working on the cars and learning about the stuff, and met a lot of really, really good people, and I'm not digging the last few weeks of the drama. I'm not one of those guys that likes that kind of stuff. It's not good to see the stuff on Facebook. A lot of teams and people make some poor choices, including myself, have in the past, posting some derogatory or negative stuff, and it's just not good for our sport. We all should be above that. We're adults and shouldn't let the emotion get in the way of what the big picture is, and that's
exactly.
Racing every weekend and keeping the tracks alive and supporting them as much as we can. So next year, I'll probably concentrate more on modified and race the Super Sport a little bit. If I don't sell it, I don't know. I haven't gotten far yet, but we'll see how the rest of this year pans out.
Regardless of all the stuff we've talked about, I don't think there's anybody that can argue with what you just said prior to your last statement. But Brian,
hey, we want to appreciate you calling in to the Crockers Cars call-in line, though.
Well, and Josh is heading your way.
Yeah, that guy's a pretty good guy.
He's not too bad.
I'll tell you what, though, man.
Right.
I will be down at your place because there's a Dodge Ram four-door diesel down there that we're going to talk about.
Right. Well, I've heard that before, so I'll hope that.
Well, and before the season's over.
As long as you come down and let me do the talking, and you shut up for a while.
Oh!
Well, Brian, we really
welcome to the Moxie call-in line.
We really appreciate your sponsorship on the show and all you're doing for racing here in the Northwest. And before the season's over, we will bring our show to Crockers Cars, and we'll go live on location for you. And looking forward to having some fun with you guys.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, you guys, for what you do. I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Have a good night.
All right, man.
All right, we're about to get on the phone right now. Justin Thomas from call from there. Justin Thomas, the flagger from Sunset Speedway. Just having a little bit of word with him and see what he's got to say. Let's see.
Does he know you're calling him?
Hello.
I hope so. Hey, Justin, what's going on, man? It's Josh down here at Moxie Media, down here in Albany. How you doing, buddy?
How you guys doing? I'm doing great, man.
Oh, not too bad. We only have a couple minutes and stuff left of the show, but we wanted to talk about the difficulties of being a flagger, basically a flagger / race director there at Sunset Speedway, and the difficulties it is to have that job.
It's tough, man. When I started, I had brown hair. If that tells you anything.
So basically, what it is that we're trying to look into. There was an incident down at Willamette Speedway where there's some controversy and stuff. For their flagger down there happens to be a race director. Some people are okay with this call that he made, and some people aren't. As a flagger, and being a race director, especially at Sunset Speedway, where it's a quarter mile, very, very fast, things happen very, very fast. What's the difficulties and stuff about doing that?
The toughest part is we're not like NASCAR. We're not on ESPN. We don't have instant replay, unfortunately. So we have to go with our gut and make a call. And a lot of the times you miss what's going on. You're watching the back of the pack, you're watching the front of the pack, you're watching the middle, and you miss something. So you kind of rely on your other crew out there. You got to have a lot of trust and faith in your infield crew to have your back and give you an honest answer, and then go with it. And it is what it is, and that's how it's going to be. And you can't take it back.
No,
is the hardest part.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that you're going to have drivers and stuff that something happens out there. They say, hey, well, they sit there and for 3 and 4 laps, you sit there and you try to tell them over their receivers, hey, you need to fall behind this car, you need to get behind that other car, and they're still battling for that position. It finally takes you, what's the emotion and stuff that you do to sit there, and after 4 laps of these guys still arguing about that point, do you finally just get out of the tower and say, you know what, man, I have to get down on the track?
It's usually about 3 times around. If they aren't getting it, I'll call the other guys over the receiver and see if they can wave them up to where the person needs to be, and if that isn't getting across, then I make the final approach down the tower and out onto the track and help them into their spot. And a lot of people don't have the patience to do that either. They'll just send them to the back because they can't figure it out.
Well, and that's understandably. I can get that. If the rule is receivers are to be used and you don't have one and you don't get the benefit of that communication, go to the back. I'd have no problem in a situation sending the guy to the back because he's not following the rules.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. It definitely dampens the show. We got spectators we got to watch out for, and the drivers. It's a juggle. You got to make everybody happy. You got to keep the show going. You got to keep everybody happy. You got to keep the drivers happy. It's a juggle.
Well, nobody wants to see 5, 10, 15 laps of pace laps. They're there to see some racing, and I get all that stuff. But, man, Justin, you guys have a hard job, and I'll tell you right now, you are appreciated by everybody in the community. I mean, because, calls go both ways. You get them sometimes, and sometimes you don't. But either way, you guys are under the hammer, and I feel bad for you. At least we can cover up our mistakes because half the time you can't hear what we're saying anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the beginning of the show. So we're up against the break and stuff. I just wanted to kind of catch a little bit with you. I want to have you back on just as an official and everything else. But I appreciate your time and just kind of picking your brain a little bit when it does come to being a race director and a flagger at the same time. But Justin, we appreciate you being on, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey, thank you guys.
Talk to you later,
Corey,
bud.
Josh, you guys have a good night.
Thanks,
you too.
buddy.
Thanks,
Bye.
man. Well, it's been a long show. We're about 7 minutes over our time. We're running down to 3 minutes to go in the show. I'm going to close this real quick. Okay, listen.
Okay.
The winner of the feature number 2 was Dan Dybel in the 74. Remember I told you how fast he was in the first one?
Yeah.
He was the benefactor of all this stuff, and he held off Brian Winkler for second. Winkler finished first and second in both of those features. He's still second in points. Barley is still the points leader. Thompson is now sitting 40. I'll tell you. Hold on. Listen to this.
Okay.
The top 3 cars in championship points in the Supersport division. I want you to listen to this, okay? 1442 for the leader, Randy Barley. 1435 for Brian Winkler at 7 points, and 1405 for Brian Thompson. Those are the top 3 cars.
That's crazy.
They're separated by a total of 37 points.
That's nuts.
You want to talk about a tight race for the title? That's getting down to, that's hardcore. But race fans, again, we want to thank all you guys. We want to thank Northwest Trucking Academy. We want to thank Crocker's Cars for sponsoring the call-in line, which we had Brian on.
That was awesome.
Great to hear. And what a great attitude.
That's absolutely.
You talk about
Jetstream Aqua Massage.
Well, yeah, got to thank
sure.
those guys. But what a great attitude that Brian carries out of that whole situation. How many guys would be full of hate and anger and